Twisted Metal was the game when I was in middle school. I put in hours upon hours into this game, playing the solo campaigns and with friends and family. There was always an aura of mystery to this game because I was never a PlayStation kid. It was that game with the clown that I always heard people talking about. So when I got a chance to play Twisted Metal Black with my neighbor, I was captivated. As with a lot of video game franchises that I get into, seeing that there were past entries got me more curious. I want to go over my top Twisted Metal games in this Twisted Metal throwback video. This isn't necessarily a top 10 video because I won't be looking at Twisted Metal on PS3 or Twisted Metal Small Brawl, as those were two games I never played. While I would someday be interested in trying out Twisted Metal on PS3, Small Brawl always looked kinda dumb to me. And it makes sense, I guess. It was a game that was intended for younger players to get them introduced into the franchise. The core gameplay seems to be the same. So this is my unofficial top Twisted Metal games. Definitely the worst of the bunch. I don't get how people can say this is one of their favorite Twisted Metal games. I can understand nostalgia, but if you've ever played any of the other games, I don't get how this one could be at the top. After the success of Twisted Metal 2, the creators couldn't reach an agreement with Sony on what to do with the series, so Sony gave the license to another studio to create future games, and you can definitely feel it. The controls are so sluggish and off, the whole thing just feels off. And I'm not saying it just because it was made by another studio that hadn't had any experience with the franchise. 989 Studios went on to create Twisted Metal 4, and that game controls so much better than 3. But forget the controls. Twisted Metal is known for its monkey paw endings. Wishing for the body of a 20-year-old? Well, you better wish for the head next year. Wish for the ability to fly? Well, you should have used your plane tickets. Twisted Metal 3's endings are so awful and so cringeworthy.
So, Outlaw, your wish is for a clean, safe world for everyone to live in. Your wish is granted. Too bad. The streets are safe, and you're out of a job.
Okay, isn't that what they wanted? I'm sure they knew what they were getting into.
Your wish is for people to see your inner child. Now, you can show us your sensitive side.
Who wishes for people to see their inner kid?
Your wish is to eat all the candy and ice cream you want. You should have brushed between snacks.
That one isn't even fair. Normally the wishes cause their own destruction, this one could have easily been avoided. Forget the aged graphics and animation, these endings are just plain shit. The game itself feels like Twisted Metal trying to be Twisted Metal. On a side note, this was the game I actually played the least. While this was the second Twisted Metal game I ever bought, our PS2 had an issue with this particular game. It never worked, so I never really got past the loading screen until many years later when we bought another PS2. But when I went back to make this video, I couldn't stand it. An interesting and low point for the series. Twisted Metal 4 was 989 Studios' second attempt at making a Twisted Metal game, and I gotta admit, while it still suffers from the same problem of Twisted Metal 3's not feeling like a true Twisted Metal game, 989 was able to better match the mechanics of Twisted Metal 1 and 2 and deliver a game that I actually enjoyed playing from time to time, with my cousin and my younger brother in a three-way free-for-all, which, by the way, was one of the reasons why this game was, in a way, better than 1 and 2, multi-tap support. And when playing with my family, whoever won the match could make a wish. This could range from taking the one chair that we had in the living room to not letting other players use certain characters. Twisted Metal 4 was sort of my first Twisted Metal game. I was introduced to the series with Black by my neighbor, but 4 was the first one I actually bought and spent more time with. Looking back at it now, yeah, I can see why this game and 3 are regarded as the outsiders of the series, but as a game itself, it's not that bad. You could call it a sort of Twisted Metal inspired game that is officially licensed. Game that started it all, Twisted Metal, and it definitely shows. I could go on and on about everything that this game is lacking. It is standard for Twisted Metal games to have special moves kinda like those found in fighting games. Combinations like left, right, up, and up, down, up will make your card do stuff like shoot out an ice projectile that freezes opponents or give you a temporary shield, make you invisible, or jump. None of those fun additions were found in this game. Twisted Metal is as basic as it gets, and one could even argue that 3 and 4 had advantages over it, to which I would agree. But the reason why this game gets a higher spot on my personal list is because it had something that those games didn't have. Something very important. Soul. You can tell that the developers had a passion for the world that they were creating, and the vision is very clear. The game takes place strictly in Los Angeles as opposed to the world locations like in Twisted Metal 3 or the fictional locations like in 4, and that gives this game an at-home feel. It really feels like you're destroying Los Angeles' neighborhoods or freeways. Sure, it may not have the advancements that later games brought to the table, but it is a much more enjoyable experience than 3 or 4 for what it is. My only complaint about this game is that it is pretty hard. Even after I got back into Twisted Metal games to make this video, I still have difficulties with this one, partly due to the lack of special moves. Activating shields and ice beams really help out, but not just that, they make the game more fun. It doesn't really help my patience to master this game when the mechanics are a little dated. I love it for what it is, but not one that I would pick up often, maybe if just for the sake of novelty and to get sucked into Twisted Metal in one of its purest forms. The number 3 spot was a really hard choice to make. In fact, you could even argue that it is tied with the number 2 spot. Twisted Metal Head-On and Twisted Metal Black, both games have their ups and downs. I'll start with Twisted Metal Black. Black was my first Twisted Metal game, and it definitely left the strongest impression on me. Given that it was my first, there was no real point of reference for me to fall back on. All I really knew was 4 and Black, but let me tell you, even then this game stood out. I went from playing games like this to this.
Must have been years I was left alone in that darkness. But when you look like I do, it's probably for the best.
Oh my god, was this terrifying. Twisted Metal Black took the series to, well, a more black place. The dark tone was everywhere, the stories, the design, the atmosphere, the music. It was the most messed up and twisted game in the franchise. Serial killers, spousal murder, disfigurations, cannibalism, PTSD, oh my god, they really went to a dark place with this one. However, the game really suffered in that the game was extremely difficult. Even with the special moves, the enemies are relentless. They're faster, more aggressive. The weapons pack less of a punch, and health pickups never seem to give you that much. You literally have to be on your toes all the time. You can't just wait around and strategically camp. You gotta move, move, move. And that really hurts the experience for me. The story was generally told in a formula that could be best described as, we introduce a character and give a vague idea of what is wrong with them. We learn halfway through the game what did happen to them that made them so messed up, and finally we see how their arc is resolved. But with a game this difficult, it can take you a while to get to the middle section and the ending section, and that hurt the pacing. At least for me. Twisted Metal Head-On was a direct sequel to Twisted Metal 2, ignoring 3 and 4. It takes place in similar locations as 2, like famous areas like Paris, Moscow, and Rome. It was the next game after Black and brought the series back to its colorful roots. Kinda. See, one of the things I never really liked about Head-On was the look of it. It has color, but it's dull color. It never feels very bright and everything kind of has this hazy feel to it. But on the plus side, the focus is brought back to the gameplay. New to the series are power-ups, which you get after defeating an enemy. Your machine guns get improved and your specials get stronger and your jump gets higher. A maxed out car feels so good. A little too good. I have to play this game on the hardest difficulty because anything lower is way too easy. Fortunately, the game's hard mode does offer a challenge that doesn't feel unfair, like Twisted Metal Black, which leaves you feeling really exhausted. Again, at least me. I do have to add that Head-On does feel kinda slow compared to other games in the series. Another drawback for Head-On is that it definitely feels like it was intended for an on-the-go experience. Enemies die quicker, it doesn't always offer a challenge, and everything kinda just feels rushed. It's fun in spurts, but lacks the meat that is provided by Black, but I guess that makes sense considering that this game was originally intended for the PSP. All that said, if I had to pick one that I would want to play over the other, it would have to be Head-On. While both are phenomenal games in their own right, I would rather a game be a little too easy than a little too hard. Black's atmosphere is amazing, but after a while, all the darkness and depressing imagery starts to kind of blend together. The only level that really stands out to me is the snow level, and that's probably because it's the brightest. It's an amazing work of art, but as a game, it doesn't have what Head-On offers. Head-On lacks style, but it's a Twisted Metal game at its core that brought back the series to what made it so great. If you prefer Black, I totally get it. This is a case where both games have their ups and downs, and having something different to offer. For me, I prefer Head-On as my number 2 and Black as my number 3. Most Twisted Metal fans saw this one coming, and a lot of fans whose favorite games are any game but 2 are probably rolling their eyes at this predictable pick for my top Twisted Metal game. It's the Ocarina of Time in the Twisted Metal series. This game is near perfect. The character selection, the level design, the feel and soul of the game. To me, this is as Twisted Metal as it gets. Twisted Metal took what made one so great and expanded on it. Locations are now fought all over the world, advanced moves were added, the graphics were improved, and weapons were automatically switched when depleted. It's bright, it's colorful, and it's fast. That isn't to say that the game doesn't have its own problems. The controls are really bad. Oftentimes it feels as if I'm fighting against gravity when my car is flying through the air. Bumping into walls sucks, and the pixelated disappearing graphics don't often help. Also, Sweet Tooth, my favorite car in the franchise, is only available via passcodes that unfortunately don't allow you to use passcodes to save your levels. Oh yeah, I should probably go over that. You see, Twisted Metal 1 and 2 didn't use memory cards, but instead used passwords. You beat a level and you were presented with a series of buttons that you could enter to restart from that next level. You start off with 3 lives, and the lives are not returned when you start a new level. This makes the game extremely difficult to get through without getting a game over. However, if you quit the game and enter your password, you'll start the level with all 3 lives back. This makes the game kinda tedious if you really need all 3 lives, but makes the game way too difficult to compete with Sweet Tooth, who doesn't get passwords for some reason. That's a major bummer for me. So with these big complaints, you'd think I wouldn't love this game as much as I do, and to be honest, I thought the same thing. Head-On is generally referred to as Twisted Metal 2, but better. Better graphics, better control, better character selection, more power-ups, yet after I bought Twisted Metal Head-On thinking it would be the experience I was craving, I kept coming back to Twisted Metal 2. There was something addicting about it despite its grueling difficulty. The controls, as awful as they felt at first, became second nature, and after mastering them, there's something so satisfying about this game. Something that none of the other games that I've played seem to offer. The game is just fun, plain and simple. It doesn't have the shock of Black or the updates of Head-On, but it does have a solid base. In the past couple months that I've been playing these games, 2 has been the one I've played the most. In my opinion, it doesn't get better than this, unless Twisted Metal PS3 or Small World really are better. I don't know, I couldn't say, but Twisted Metal 2 just has this feel that I absolutely love. This feel that even though I'm playing Black, even though I'm playing Head-On, I'm thinking about Twisted Metal 2. So those are my picks for my top favorite Twisted Metal games. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about a franchise that left such a big impact on me in my early years of gaming. Until next time, I'm Boyo, and please subscribe to stay up to date on more retrospective videos.